we're looking at eye patterns, not only do we have to make sure we have enough space high and low from the mask, that's just the beginning, because remember, currently we have 3 high-speed channels, red, green, and blue. And not only, again, do we have to have the space, but all 3 of those channels have to line up with each other. So you wind up with 3 channels getting tested, and they all have to match in time. Now, when you're looking at TMDS, when you're looking at cable testings, there's a couple of things we look at. And they're skew. There's Intrapair Skew and Intrapair Skew.
Right.
Now, what is the difference between inter and intra, Adam?
Inter is inside and intra is outside?
No.
Okay.
Inter, I-N-T-E-R,
Yep.
is between multiple pairs.
Okay.
Intra is internal to itself. So, when you were looking at the cables, remember, we've got 3 feeds.
There you go.
When you look at the cable, we've got the 3 primary feeds. We're going to push the clock away for a second. So, we've got the 3 primary colors, and we're looking at the headroom, and by now everybody should know what headroom is. You want to have lots of space around that eye mask, but you also have to look at timing, meaning that that transition is the same red, green, blue. Because if it's not, you're going to wind up with sparkles.
Right.
Or worse, no signal at all if it gets really bad. So, when we're looking at this, we were talking about interpair and intrapair skew.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to do some very lousy drawings.
Okay.
Because I'm a lousy artist.
Is there, I'm sorry, have we not seen your good drawings?
You've seen the best I can do.
Okay.
Which is still lousy. So, now, this is a good example of intrapair skew. Mostly because I'm a lousy artist.
Well, I was going to say, it's, I don't know about a good example, but it is.
No, it is. It was not what I meant to draw.
Okay.
I was going to draw interpair skew, but since I can't draw an accurate reproduction of a properly twisted wire, we're going to discuss intrapair skew.
Sure.
So when you look at this, you'll notice that the transition points are not all at the center line.
Yes.
And that's what you want to happen. Those crossover points need to be all down the middle, because that means that the upper and the lower sections are all, for lack of a better phrase, square.
Okay.
It's like squaring up a box.
Sure.
Yeah, you know, you check the measurements to make sure that each way is the same.
Yep.
That's the same thing here. So assuming all these crossover points are dead line down the middle, that means that our intrapair skew is very low. This represents high interpair skew because if you look, because of my lousy drawing.
So now that's a timing issue, correct?
That is absolutely a timing issue.
Okay.
So what that means is one of the wires is going to be longer than the other wire.
Okay.
So the AC waveform will not be correct.
Now we see this a lot in our side of the world because when we get calls about a cable that's not maybe the best quality cable, or you know, something that's somehow, some way they've cut corners in the manufacturing of it, and that would cause this particular problem.
And it will generally come because the winding machines are not properly monitored.
Gotcha.
At the factories. Now, let's talk about this in greater detail because this is just a single one of the 3 conductors.
Right.
One of the 4 actually, but we're going to focus on the current HDMI specifications and the 3 high-speed channels.
Okay.
So we've now got 3 of these that are like this, and you've got intrapair skew issues there.
Right.
Now, along with that, you also have to look at interpair skews. Now on those, the crossover points should not only be square on the center point, but with each other.
So this is intra?
This is inter.
Inter.
One cable is intra, multiple cables is inter. So these lines should be the same.
We'll pretend that they're the same, right?
We're gonna, well, this is actually pretty close.
It's a good example,
That's
right?
a good example of a lousy artist.
Sure, sure.
Now, when you have variances in these, and this is a good example, but let's say that this one right here was a little further off and more repetitive.
Right.
What we're going to have, if this is RG&B, you're going to have issues with the green feed not matching up correctly with the red and the blue. So we're back to timing issues. So not only do we have to worry about timing issues internal to each channel, we have to worry about the timing issues between all 3 channels.
So when we're, what does that look like? If we have, like, say, one particular channel like that, where we are missing or we have the wrong timing on one channel, what does that look like?
This is the green channel as I've listed.
Sure.
You will wind up with green sparkles on your display.
Okay. Just because they're out of sync.
They're out of sync. They're not there at the same time because this is a clock. And by the way, that is the 4th channel.
Yes.
Of the TMDS feeds is a clock. And the clock's only job
just to keep time.
Is to tell everything where to be and when to be there. That's it.
Right.
And when those things are out of sync, you miss the bus.
Right.
And the more it's out of sync, the greater the chances of failure.